I had to start a new sheet on Google Docs. You know why, Sam? You know why I had to do that?
Because we started a new book.
We started a new book, The Words of Radiance, or maybe just Words of Radiance. Maybe I said the title wrong the first time I said it. I think it's
Pretty
just
sure
Words of Radiance.
it's Words of Radiance.
Yeah.
And, oh
Was
man,
it?
John, let me tell you, I've missed Brandon Sanderson so much these last 6 days when we haven't been reading it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That week where we didn't read it all, that was torture. Well, I
it
guess
was
you probably
really,
did, but
that sucked.
yeah.
But now we are reading
No,
again.
this is good.
And dang, dude, I enjoyed the Shalon chapters.
Yeah, that's new.
I know, yeah, it was fun. All right, so
Yeah.
I mean, new book, new me, haha, right?
That's right.
Remember that
yeah,
meme?
I'm gonna lose 20 pounds this book.
People were saying that not so much in 2020, but in the last couple of years before that, right?
Yeah, 2019, 2018.
Yeah, new book, new me. Words of Radiance is just, I'm sure, going to be a total banger. And it started off pretty cool with the first scene of the last book. Well, I guess the second scene, right? Because there was the prelude, then the prologue or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's how Way of Kings worked, but this one just had the one.
Yes. So the prologue from the last book and the prologue in this book were the same event,
Right.
just from different characters' perspectives.
Yes.
Which leads me to theorize that every book is going to start with this scene from a different character's perspective, right?
I believe that.
We have
that.
Seth,
Seems like kind of the
we have Yesna.
Quintessential.
I was actually joking. But hey, maybe.
I mean, it just seems like such an important event in the book.
I feel like we've already gotten a somewhat complete picture.
This time we're going to know what he had for breakfast. We're going to know what Gavilar's favorite color is.
Like, if we did Gavilar, maybe he could tell us what the significance is of that item he gave Zeth, remember?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And when he was theorizing about who was going to have him killed, I mean, he already kind of said that it was the other High Princes, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we could get something more from Gavilar's perspective. What would it be from
Right.
Dalinar's, right? Like, he's really drunk.
Yep.
And then what, we could get it from, like, Sadius? It's like, yep, he ran away and Zeth didn't follow him, right?
That sounds really interesting.
That sounds really
want
interesting.
That picture. I agreed, kind of because I wasn't totally listening, and now I feel like a fool, so I have to fight and die on this mountain. This very small, insignificant mountain.
So, I mean, there we are. It's back to 6 years ago. I wrote down the note, like, Elhokar had a wife? What happened to her? But then I remembered, oh no, she's just back home in Alfgar.
Yep.
That's just, it's, okay, well.
Yeah, I forgot about her as well. I don't know if we ever heard her name before. I didn't write it down, but
I still didn't write it down. I don't know if she's significant.
Yeah, it started with an A. That's all I remember.
Yeah, she can't be that significant if I don't remember if she's significant, right?
But yeah, this is 6 years ago, same event of Gavilar's death from Yesna's perspective.
This was apparently the same night where Yesna admitted to heresy, so that's fun. That's good to know.
Yep. Yeah, this is a big night for Yesna, among other people.
Yep.
She has a weird situation going on with her shadows. What's up with that? They just go the wrong way sometimes.
Her shadows go the wrong way. She has some spooky shadow men following her, and she also noted that the Parshendi were looking nervous at the feast, but she wasn't too certain about that because sometimes Parshendi just display emotions
They're hard to
differently.
read.
Yeah. When her shadow was pointing the wrong direction, she said the words, "Not again." So this has happened before. This is just a thing for her. Okay.
Right, yeah.
It's also stated, she said, in some, what do you call them? Folktales? That misbehaving shadows meant you were cursed.
Right, and when she said that, she said she's proved superstitions are based in fact sometimes based on her experiences. And I was like, what? When else has that happened?
Yeah.
Just these passing comments that give you little bits, you know?
She sees Gavilar in conference with Amaram. What was that about? I'm actually very curious about that. Maybe that's what we'll learn in the third book when they do the same scene from Gavilar's perspective. Maybe that's what we'll get.
Yeah. Who can say?
And then Yesna has the line about how she's like, oh yeah, everyone at the party, they're just getting louder but not any more intelligent. And Gavilar says, is it lonely to be so singular in your brilliance? And I was like, oh, ouch. And it made me, I wrote just the note down, r/I am very smart. Because Yesna got so wrecked. I don't know.
Yeah, and Yesna, she was even like, oh yeah, you got me. She blushed or whatever.
And she reiterated that Gavilar has changed really quickly. And also she said that it seems like maybe he didn't trust her. She kind of got that vibe from him.
Yeah, he looked a little suspicious of her.
I am so freaking curious about Gavilar. I want to know what the catalyst was in his...
So important.
Yeah. All right, what do you...
Yeah, it's okay. Dalinar is becoming the new Gavilar, you know?
Yes, but I still want to know about the old Gavilar.
Yeah. So we find out on the night of Gavilar's assassination that Yasna was going to talk to a different assassin herself. What's that about?
She was going to have Elhokar's wife assassinated. That's what that was about.
Yeah. Right.
But she changed her mind because this night was already a little too wacky wild and she didn't want to stir the pot too much, you know.
Yeah. So she was like, just keep an eye on her. And we're pretty sure Elhokar's wife is still alive, so that got called off for some reason or other, right?
Yep. Her assassin is named Liss, and that name came up enough times that I think it might be significant in the future.
Yeah. That seemed important.
That shadow guy we mentioned, you know, it like men formed up out of the shadows to attack her, and it ended up driving her to like become emotionally compromised, like Spock, and find herself in Shadesmar. And I wrote down the note there, like, oh man, was this Shadow Man like some sort of spren trying to manipulate her into going to Shadesmar for the first time, right? And later we find out, the Shadow Man was a spren. So I was probably right about that.
Oh wow, it's amazing how many things you figure out in this book without having any other information to go off of. That's amazing.
Yep. Well, all right. Some things I actually don't remember.
So Shadesmar, as I think knew before, but we get a lot more information kind of through these chapters. It's the marble dimension, the mythological, evidently, kingdom of the Spren, not mythological as it turns out.
And in book 1, during one of the interludes, it was also called the cognitive realm by those two scholar folks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then in later chapters, Yasna calls it that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so
and yeah, this is the first time she's been there. She doesn't know what's going on. She's drowning in all these beads and is freaking out.
She grabs one and it's like a statue or something, and she like summons the statue to fight the Shadow Man who's also in Shadesmar.
Well, first she grabs one that's like the palace.
Well, John, I don't care. I'm skipping that because it doesn't matter to me. She grabs the statue. I see, because we could just say everything that happens, and that would be lame.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
So she grabs one. It's the statue of Taln Elin, who has come up a bunch of times. Most important herald, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And she like somehow she makes all the marbles form up into that statue in the cognitive realm. And if you remember way back to the prologue in the first book, Szeth commented on the fact that he was in like a hall of statues of the heralds, and there were only 9 of them.
Oh, that's
and I took that note.
Totally
So it makes me wonder, did Yasna somehow destroy that statue in the real world? But the thing is, like you said, she summoned the hallway too, and that wasn't destroyed in the real world, right? Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but
the hallway sounded like it was kind of a really important point. But whatever. Yeah, so that all happens. She was like, she gets out, everything's fine. She's like, oh, well, I'm going to have to write about that down later, but first I got some assassinating to do, or rather an assassin to hire.
Liss is a shard bearer, we learn.
Yep. She is nicknamed the Weeper because she gouges out the eyes of victims so that people won't realize that their eyes have burned out, a la the fact that she has a shard blade.
Yeah, that's messed up.
People were killed by one. Yeah, that's kind of a cool name, though, for an assassin, the Weeper. Mm-hmm. It's kind of sick.
Liss had also briefly employed Szeth, which I think was just a fun little thing. I don't think it matters, but...
Right. This was a thought I just had, now reading my notes, but, like, do you think in in Roshar there are, like, podcasts, like, true crime about Szeth and Liss, you know? Like, are they idolized, like, serial killers because they have these cool reputations? And, like, that one lady that smashes the pottery and slashes the paintings.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all 3 of them.
Definitely some.
Yeah, there are definitely people. They have like big span read like clubs, and they all write to each other their fan theories about the assassin in white. Yeah, that's for sure happening.
Yeah. I love that little world building that we had to find for ourselves, you know.
Yeah. We should ask Brandon Sanderson if that's true at one of his like book signings or something. And he'll give us a read and find out card, and we'll be like, we'll find. I guess this will come up. Yeah. Let's see.
Oh,
Yesna confirmed the shot of her
between those two characters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Liz previously had Zeth in her employ, but he was a little too good at following orders and stuff. So she
I already said
sold
that,
him out.
So
Oh, you did? Oh, my bad.
When Yesna was talking about the Parshendi later, I think this is after they've killed her dad now, or maybe not. She says, "Could it be that scholars have been searching the wrong ruins all these years?" Indicating that they were searching some ruins and they should have instead been searching Parshendi ruins or into Parshendi culture or something.
Right, that's more or less how I interpreted it.
I don't know, but I don't think we've heard anything about people searching ruins, have we?
No. Yeah, that doesn't sound familiar.
Also, let's see. She overheard some people, two like foreign dignitaries, walking through the hallways. One of them says, "I'm worried about Ash. We're not supposed to get worse. Are we getting worse? That creature carries my lord's own blade." Who is Ash?
Yeah,
what does he mean by we? In what way are they getting worse? Many questions from this just overheard piece of dialogue.
Right, who's carrying a blade? Why?
Well, I think Zeth is carrying the blade.
Oh, you think that? Okay.
Well, when he says that creature carries my lord's own blade, it makes me think Zeth.
I mean...
If any character is going to be referred to as like a creature or a monster, I think it's going to be Zeth, right?
Yeah, truthless or whatever, yeah.
I don't know. The Azish man had a white birthmark on his cheek. This is a physical feature I am certain will come up at some point. So let's just tuck that one away. And when that comes up, we'll know that was the taller guy. That was the guy who was being spoken to in this little thing. So he's one of the we.
We now have recorded evidence to refer back to.
Yes. The Parshendi, after he dies, they're like, "We're sorry for your loss. We hired the assassin. We killed your father because it had to be done, because your father was about to do something very dangerous." And Yesna says, "There will be war, and I'm not going to stop it." And the Parshendi are like, "This is understood."
Yeah, we know.
Yep, we know. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, what could Gavilar do that would be more dangerous than an assassination which immediately caused all of these Parshendi to get, like, killed, hanged... Right, and eventually have a war started against them.
To start. Yeah. So, I mean, I thought it was weird that they just, like, immediately, they were, like, there, because Yesna sees the assassination happening. She sees Zeth doing all this crazy Stormlight stuff, and so she's like, "Wow, how's that happening?" And then they're, like, right there when he dies, and they're like, "Oh, hey, that was us. Sorry, we've been here the entire time. We were just watching."
Yep.
And they're the elders or whatever.
Very bizarre. And that's all I got on that chapter.
The very last thing is Yesna, sees Zeth doing the crazy thing, thinks about her, soul casting, unbeknownst to her at the time, and she's like, "All right, I gotta study how all of this stuff happens."
Yep. It seems like her driving force really is just her father's death,
Yep.
She wants to crack that code.
Yep. I mean, same though.
Yeah. All right. All of the beginning of chapter notes for part 1 seem to be notes from Navani, and it seems like they're all coming from the future about the stuff that's currently happening. Okay, to be perfectly frank, what has happened these last 2 months is upon my head. The death, destruction, loss, and pain are my burden. I should have seen it coming, and I should have stopped it. Now, it's interesting to me that she says last 2 months here, and right at the end of this little chunk of reading, we get the number 62 days, almost exactly 2 months. Right?
Uh-huh.
So do you think that this first note, or I guess all of these notes, are going to end up being written like right after this 62-day time limit has expired?
I'd believe it, yeah.
Because I think yes.
Because, it seems like the future, but not like the, far future.
Yeah. So a bunch of bad stuff is going to happen coming up pretty shortly here.
Yeah,
I think that's
exciting.
It's kind of locked in.
Yeah.
So Shallan and Yesna are on a boat. It's Talsbeck's boat again, and I realize that she makes the statement that boats always want to stay close to port because if they're out in the middle of the ocean and they're caught unbeknownst by a high storm, they're just dead, right? Mm-hmm. And it makes me realize that, like, on our planet Earth, right, there are a lot of very popular trade and travel routes, right, that would just be impossible to traverse because traveling them takes longer than one storm interval, right? So in the case of, I don't know, say New Zealand, I don't know how long it takes to get from Australia to New Zealand, but if it's more than a week, we would just never, like, New Zealand would be its own separate world, and there could never be contact unless, like, driftwood washed up on shore, you know?
Because essentially, like, anytime they sail, if they're starting here and they're trying to get to, the top of the phone or whatever, they're going to have to just, like, kind of bounce their way over to it,
Yeah, so if they're, like, totally separated landmass, there's no coast to follow, right?
Right, yeah. So if there's another continent,
worlds.
Who knows? Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
All right. Here, Yesna, over this chapter and next, just drops, like, so much lore and information on us. And, like, I'm a fan of it. Yeah, so the first thing...
It seems like these chapters are kind of lore dumps.
Yeah, well, I dig it, though. I like the lore dumps.
No,
the lore dumps feel productive to me,
Right. Not in, like, not in a beat you over the head with it, like, in a story-appropriate way.
Yeah. So Yesna says that all things have soul, body, and mind. Shadesmar is for the mind. The physical world is for the body. This implies that there is a third plane for things souls, where souls live.
Right. Kingdom Hearts. Yeah. So Shallan, she tries to draw Shadesmar, and that's really hard to do, right? And suddenly this little pattern pops up, and it's like this little, these like embossed ridges on her drawing, and that freaks her out, and she drops it, and they just kind of like fade away, and she's like, "Ah, man, drawing used to be so much simpler than it is now before these symbols."
Yep, and she starts seeing that same pattern all over the place. Among her next couple of chapters, she sees it in the water, whatever. It's like coming up out of the walls. Whenever she looks at it directly, it vanishes. Yesna is like, "Oh, tell me about that, but also don't stress it." Right? Like, it's no big deal, right? But also, I do care about it. We learned that Spren are confirmed living ideas, elements of the cognitive realm that have leaked into the physical world, and the Spren have cities in Shadesmar. Some are as clever as humans.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, all right.
Spren have their own whole freaking societies up in there. Got it.
Yeah. And the Spren speak of some ancient betrayal the humans committed, but they're very offended by it, and they won't explain what it was.
Yeah.
But we know
ancient
that
betrayal,
a bunch of them
we broke an oath. Some of them died. And it made me wonder, do Spren die of natural causes?
Right. I mean, like, doesn't seem like it, but it's really impossible to say one way or the other.
If Spren, like, don't die as a general rule, and then you do kill some Spren, that's pretty messed up. Like, for all we know, there are just a finite number of Spren, right? I don't know.
Right. So and it's hard to say, because it's like, if they're living, they're living ideas, like, are more of them being created all the time? Or, is there, like, a fixed number from some set of ideas that were had at some point,
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to say. But, man, me thinking Spren were cool from the beginning, good call.
But this whole we broke an oath thing, remember back in Kaladin's dream where he was flying on the storm, and the Stormfather was like, "Men don't fly on the storms anymore, not since the oath was broken, or the oath pact, or something." I don't remember what term he used.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
but it makes me wonder, like, is this that same thing? Probably, right? Because men seem to get their magical surge powers from Spren.
Oh, yeah.
And if men betrayed the Spren, which allows them to fly, they'd stop doing that, right?
Right, seems like Spren wouldn't be so kind to giving them magic powers no more.
It also makes me wonder, was this the Recreants? Did the Recreants somehow kill the Spren when all the Knights Radiant threw their swords down and whatnot?
Certainly seems like it.
I wish I could remember exactly how that scene went. Dalinar was walking out through them. I swear, during that scene, he said he could either, like, hear faint screaming or hear the sounds of anguish or something as everyone's armor was falling off of them. Do you remember that?
maybe. It might just be because you're saying it, not wanting to think that happened.
I could swear that's the case. So maybe like that event somehow like killed Spren. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Like they broke their bonds with the Spren and that killed them or something.
Yeah. Turns out Yesna's pretty darn helpful. Yesna's going to help out the family. Remember back to what I said in book 1, John, about how maybe she could just ask Yesna for help?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that
she's
was
like, oh, yeah, I got it covered.
That was influenced by hindsight, because I did remember this.
Yeah. Right, yeah, so basically Yesna says she's going to send Shallan's broken soulcaster to Navani to fix, and then that way Shallan can send it back to her brothers, and they can give it to the Ghost Blood so that they'll maybe get off their back.
And I love this next scene, because, Yesna is showing Shallan the letter. We're like at the top. See, this is the part about how we're gonna fix the soulcaster thing. And then Shallan is kind of just like absentmindedly glancing further down, and she's like, "What's the rest of that about?" And Yesna's like, don't worry about that. I may be getting you married to my cousin. Is that cool?" And Shallan's like, "Yeah, that's cool."
Fine. That's
and
great.
Yesna's like,
yeah.
"Really? Because I know this is like totally without your permission. People generally like to have some freedom in choosing who they marry, so I can understand if you'd be upset." And Shallan's like, "No, really, this is awesome." Yeah.
Right.
And Yesna's like, "Are you sure?" And Shallan's like, "I just see one issue with it though. Wait, I see how this is good for me, but how is this good for the House Colin?" And Yesna's like, "Oh well, it's not, but Adolin's offended every good match for him." So, like, you'll do, you know?
Well, yeah, and then later she's like, well, you're, going to be a Radiant or something, and that'll be cool.
Yeah.
But,
I thought the scene was so funny.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, Shallan's like, no, this is great. Yeah, hey, no problem. Adolin is my dude. Yep, that'll be fun. We'll see how Adolin offends Shallan and vice versa.
Well, I mean, Shallan has so much to gain. She's pretty decent at controlling her emotions and repressing stuff, so maybe she'll just not get offended,
Mm-hmm.
Just through sheer force of will.
Yeah.
Also, Yesna has the scene where she's like talking to Shallan about how power is an illusion of perception, and I swear, Brandon Sanderson does this in every one of his books. There's always Catch Me If You Can stuff going on, and I do kind of like it, but also it's like... It does feel like it's like every single book. There's always that one character who just carries themselves with such confidence that everyone else can't help but stand aside, And,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she gives Shallan this little talk or whatever, and then she tries it on Toesbeck. She's like, "All right, I'll put this into action," and then she's like, bossing Toesbeck around so she can jump off the side of the boat to look at this big old santhid.
Sounds like a big jellyfish or something. Big squid or
big jellyfish turtle, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she, it works. He's like, all right. And then they lower over the side so she can take a mental picture of this weird jellyfish turtle monster thing. And that was kind of fun. She was like, oh, look at all the fish down here.
Yeah.
Neato.
And we're back to Bridge 4.
Yeah.
Bridge 4. How's their salute go? Is it like this?
I don't know. I was trying to figure that out, but I was confused.
This is the Yes, My Diamond salute from Steven Universe.
Okay.
So maybe it's the same. Maybe Bridge 4 and Steven Universe did the same salute. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Do I see a crossover coming?
Crossover episode. Yeah, well, it turns out it's all one universe. Same. We already determined that Kingdom Hearts and the Stormlight Archive take place in the same universe.
All right, and so there's rumblings of Warbreaker. We'll get to that someday, I'm sure.
Yep.
Probably Winnie the Pooh as well. I'm just speculating.
The note from Navani's notes at the beginning of this chapter was, our first clue was the Parshendi. Even weeks before they abandoned their pursuit of the Gem Hearts, their pattern of fighting changed. They lingered on the plateaus after battles, as if waiting for something. Now this... has this already started happening? Do they linger on the plateaus at all? Have we heard about that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, I guess we're about to start seeing that then.
Right,
and also, fun news, they're going to start abandoning their pursuit of the Gem Hearts pretty soon here.
Right, so hopefully that helps out Dalinar, because he's about to, give all the High Princes their slap on the wrist or whatever.
Yeah. Everyone on Bridge 4 is getting tattoos on their foreheads to cover up their slave brands. And they all say Bridge 4 right on their foreheads because they just really are. They love the fact that they almost all got killed on those bridge runs. That was super cool.
Really brought them closer, yeah.
And
Kaladin cannot get a tattoo because when he's got the Stormlight in him, it won't let the ink stay there.
Yeah, his like body's magic healing just like ejects the ink from him. So
all right, yeah, kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Also, Moash chooses not to get his on his forehead because he did not have slave scars
Brandon,
up there,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he gets it on his arm. And
Right.
I think that this may be some foreshadowing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Everyone else got it
Because
on
he
their
doesn't-
forehead.
yeah. I saw that because like,
Where
he gets it on
was
his
Jesus
arm.
kissed by Judas, John?
Ooh, I see.
It's
Wasn't the
all
arm.
coming together. It's all coming
That's
together.
right. I thought it was kind of funny because he gets it on his arm right after like Rock and somebody else gets it, and I was thinking afterwards like they looked at it like, oh, I guess I could have done that. Now I just got this face tattoo. Is that gonna hurt my job prospects later?
No, they wanted it though because they're
I know,
loyal
yeah.
to Bridge 4, unlike
Right.
some people. No, Moash has been fine so far.
Yeah,
he
but
does-
now
he
you're-
does still
you're
have that
planting
mysterious-
seeds for me to eat up later.
He does still have that mysterious person he wants to murder, who he won't tell Kaladin who it is.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's just fueled by potential revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned that Kaladin is basically in charge of like 1,000 dudes now of the Bridgemen, and he's gonna put them into big old crews of like 50, and he's gonna have 20 crews, and he's gonna find the least oppressed of them and kind of train them as leaders of their own groups. And
Yep,
try
he's
to
like-
have his own ranking system.
We have to protect Dalinar because he's the one who showed us mercy, and they're all like, well, that's not really a good reason because maybe he was just doing that for like some sort of political gain or something. He's like, okay, well we have to protect him though because if we don't, then we're gonna get killed or something or re-enslaved. And they're all like,
Yeah.
no, not with you protecting us. We're not gonna protect him for that reason. We don't care about that. And he's like, okay, well, but we're gonna protect him because I really want to. And they're like,
I
well,
said so,
all right,
yeah.
that's fair enough.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so he's got this kind of, he's got a plan going, more or less, to whip these 1,000 men into shape. And I thought it was kind of ironic in a way that he's setting up like a ranking system. He's like, we're going to have captains and lieutenants and sergeants, and if we need another tier, we'll have master sergeants, And it's just very reminiscent of Alethi culture in a way.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, he is an Alethi, right?
Oh, right, yeah. It's just like, in the army where during that scene he was like, who is your captain? He's dead. He's like, who do you report to now? He's like, I'm not really sure. What rank are you?
Yeah.
So I just like thought it was kind of funny in reference to that scene.
Rock is fun and good. He was having the scene about kicking that other guy. And I was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Oh, Rock. He's so funny.
Yeah.
And they all went and got their uniforms, and Moash blushed after putting his on, and I was like, oh, Moash, you're so cute.
And then they're like, we're not the Cobalt Guard, we're Bridge 4, damn it.
Yeah. Kaladin is a surge binder.
Off.
I think we've heard that term before. Surge binder.
Yep, in one of
But that's what
the
Kaladin
Dalinar's
is.
visions.
So let's remember that.
Yeah. That's the one. We heard that, I think, in the vision where he was talking to who we thought might be the author of Way of Kings.
Maybe.
Whatever his name was. Yeah.
Also, Dalinar wants to reform the Radiance, and he has a Radiant, like, right near him at all times. Kaladin is, like,
Right,
following
yeah.
him around. But Kaladin doesn't want anyone to know, so
Yeah.
how long will that take to resolve?
Yeah.
And guess
Just go
who
back and
else
forth.
is on the way? 2 more Radiants, Shallan and Yesna, right?
Mm-hmm.
But hey, you want to take
The
bets
Shadow
on whether or
Queens.
not they'll reveal their nature to Dalinar?
Yeah, it's going to take a hot minute.
Probably gonna take a
but
hot
I'm
minute.
sure it will at some point.
Probably going to be a lot of time wasting because people are trying to keep their dumb secrets.
Yep.
And that's all I got for
That's
that
how
chapter.
it be. Yep, me too.
Soldiers
Back to Shallan.
reportedly being watched from afar by an unnerving number of Parshendi scouts. Then we noticed a new pattern of their penetrating close to the camps in the night and then quickly retreating. I can only surmise that our enemies were even then preparing their stratagem to end the war.
So the Parshendi are getting their own ideas, abandoning the Gem Hearts. They're like, all right, let's put a little pin in this whole war. Let's kill everybody, call it a day, huh?
Yeah, they're starting to get real eyeing these guys, preparing to do something.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shallan finally manages to draw that one pattern that's been following her around, and in doing so, she somehow gives it form in the physical realm. I don't know.
Right. It like sighs and then pops off the page and is scuttling around.
And now it is a stupid but sentient being, and it is a lot like Syl way back when Kaladin met her, right?
Yeah, pretty much. We've determined that that Shallan has created Doodlebob in real life.
Shallan has created Doodlebob, and now she is gonna have to kill it before it kills her.
That's right. Yeah.
And we meet Yesna's friend, and it is indeed the black shadowy guy. So cool.
Yep. His name is Ivory.
We learned that.
So we theorize.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She definitely called it Ivory.
Which is kind of ironic.
Yeah. We learned that each order of Radiance has access to 2 surges.
Right.
So, and we learned that there's overlap between them. It sounds like two orders of Radiance will share 1 surge.
Right.
You could draw them all in a big circle, right?
Yeah.
Each order of Radiance could have a line connecting them. Yeah.
Right. And just as you so cleverly surmised, Yesna determines that she and Shallan are of the 2, of the soul casting surge or whatever it is, but they're different.
So they're each going to have a secondary surge that'll be different from each other's.
Right. Yeah.
Similarly, Kaladin and Szeth can both draw arrows to objects. They both have the gravitation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they each also have a different surge that I suspect is different from each other's, because I just can't see an honor sprint going for Szeth,
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, and it was interesting because when Yesna's talking to Shallan about her, how her thing is different, she says that her spren is a cryptic, or at least that's what they're called in Shadesmar.
Yep.
And people call them lie spren. And I'm like, when you lie to somebody?
Yeah.
Kind of Shallan's thing.
And remember what they charged her to go into Shadesmar? A truth.
Yep.
So that's going to be her whole thing, I think, is just truths and lies.
So how does Yesna's rather soul casting work? What is her spren? What?
I don't know. Well, the first time she went to Shadesmar, it seemed to be triggered by fear. But I don't think she can just get afraid on will. She can go there at will now, so I have no idea what her cost is.
She carries a big old spider in a vial, and she pulls it out and looks at it every time she has to go to Shadesmar.
She's really she's really afraid of the dark, so every time she wants to go to Shadesmar, she just blinks.
We find out too that the cryptics have kind of a little bit of a beef with the honor spren back in Shadesmar. It's a little complex, and we know Syl is an honor spren, as you mentioned a minute ago.
Yep.
So how's that all connected? I don't know.
Also, Yesna says that this shadow spren, like binding to her or whatever, is regarded as a betrayal by others of his kind.
Oh yeah.
So on average, whatever group of spren, whatever type of spren Yesna's is, on average, they still hate people for breaking those oaths and killing those spren. But, like, this one has decided to come bind to Yesna anyways.
So we find they're talking more kind of about the origin of spren, and they said the spren may have been something before they were spren, like fragments of fundamental powers and forces like gravity or, nature or whatever.
The 3 we were given were gravitation, pressure, and transformation.
Ah, yes. Right.
So that's cool. Who has pressure? Because like gravitation, that's what Szeth clearly does gravitation stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
That is for sure his thing, and I think Kaladin can also do that, but his might be a different thing that's just similar because he does binding. I don't know.
Right.
Transformation, that's clearly soul casting, right?
Right.
But what is pressure in terms of magic powers? I don't think we've seen that yet. I wish she would have just given us all 10.
Oh yeah, sure, right.
Like I paused it. They were like gravitation, pressure, transformation, and then I paused it to like write those 3 down, and I was like, all right, time to hit play to write more of these down. And then she was like, and some others, and I was like, no, just kidding.
Yeah.
Also, we learned that
So,
pattern faces are like aristocrats within the cognitive realm. The Lyspren.
Oh yeah.
They're like the light eyes of the cognitive realm. So okay.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And then they're talking about different historians or philosophers having different opinions on what Spren are, and what they mean and everything. And the theory that they both align with is that there are 2 types of Spren: emotional and natural.
Yep.
And that kind of lines up with some gods of old. So Honor, who is now regarded as the Almighty in Vorinism, is kind of based on the ideal emotions and the corresponding Spren that go along with that. And then Cultivation, who we've heard about just once, I think, worshipped in the West, is based on nature and the corresponding Spren.
Yep.
And then there are also Void Spren, and we don't know who their big god is necessarily.
Yes, we effing do. It's got to be Odium.
Well, yeah, but they don't know that. That's what I'm saying. But
yeah, well, they just say he goes by many
names.
They're
right. They're regarded as bad guys, pretty much. So
adversaries, just like Satan, which does mean adversary.
Oh, really? And then they mentioned the Stormfather was an offshoot of one of them, but the wording was confusing. So
I read it as the Stormfather was an offshoot of the Void Spren one.
Okay, that's also how I understood it. Yeah, but
that was my interpretation.
Weird, yeah.
Although Yesna said that the Night Watcher, the Stormfather, and the Almighty himself may have all just been powerful Spren.
Right.
But I don't know how that lines up with Dalinar's visions.
Oh, yeah.
He's talking to the Almighty. But I guess we've heard Spren speak, so...
Yeah. Yeah, is the Almighty the one that says he's the Almighty? Is that the Spren that's going to bond to Dalinar?
He's dead. How could he?
Oh, that's a good point.
That would be dope, though.
Yeah. You get God as your sidekick.
Dalinar, wow, that would be pretty dope.
Yeah. So then Yesna's like, well, you need to study your new dumb Spren buddy.
Can somebody bind the Stormfather or the Night Watcher? The Night Mother? Whatever. Night Watcher, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Could somebody bind the Night Watcher or the Stormfather?
Oh, geez, that would be insane.
Whoa, that would be really dope. That'd be very cool.
That'd be whack, yeah.
Alright.
You say so many things, and I'm like, Sam knows some of these things. How many seeds of deceit?
Well, the farther along we read, the less I know about the future, because there's less book ahead of us and more book behind us.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I guess like the more we read, though, the more you probably remember, since they're the books you read more recently. But
I don't know, John. See, we're gonna get up to one chapter away from the end of book 3, and I guarantee I'll have hardly any information you don't have.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have for that chapter.
Yep. Same.
The next
We're
clue...
really good at our notes corresponding.
Yeah, well, I mean, some stuff is just cool facts, and we both write it down.
Yeah.
The next clue came on the walls. I did not ignore this sign, but neither did I grasp its full implications. And whoa, we're about to see this one in action almost immediately.
Yeah.
So
this chapter starts off with Dalinar having a vision. He's with a company of soldiers, and they're tromping around in a lake, but it's probably not the pure lake, and they're chasing after a Spren because the Radiant told them to.
Yeah. There's a big castle made out of obsidian, and he says, was this made with soul casting, after noting it was made with obsidian, and it makes me wonder, is obsidian one of the basic elements, like blood and smoke and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Because there are some things...
Yeah, could be.
Yesna said are easy to soul cast because they're like the basic stuff.
Right,
is obsidian one of them? I don't know. Well, Dalinar probably wouldn't even know that if it was.
In the back of... I think it says what the things are in the back of Way of Kings. Like there's a table or something.
What?
Yeah, I think so.
Do I have a physical copy of that book? I don't think I do.
I will. I'll look into that.
Okay, dude, send me pictures of those pages. Like, no joke.
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
So the Spren eventually gets away and then turns into a giant rock monster from underneath the lake. I mean,
the Spren had another Spren.
Mm-hmm.
There was the one Spren that was just a face, and then another Spren that was like a bigger one. came and possessed the earth and started driving the stones themselves like a giant mech suit.
Yeah.
And there was a line about how the Spren had become, like, corrupted or something. I don't really know. These are, like, evil. These are I think these are the Void Spren that were mentioned earlier, right? These dark Spren with red eyes and whatnot.
That would check out. I don't know if Giant Rock Monster, he probably falls more into nature than emotion, but probably bad guy into more than any of those.
Yeah. And I think they referred to the Giant Rock Monster as a Thunderclast. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
And then, yeah. What do you got?
Yeah, so the Almighty pops up, and right as this fight's about to happen with this rock monster, and he says, "They were created to watch the night's radiant," and he starts talking, just monologuing at him. And then he gives the advice to. He says, "The best advice I can give you is basically to trick Odium and convince him that he can lose, and appoint a champion because he will take the." He'll take that chance to avoid dying again like he has so many times.
Did it say dying or did it say losing?
Losing, yeah.
Also...
Yeah, it did say losing, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It sounded like the Almighty did give the Heralds their strength. But the Almighty said that he was not responsible for the Night's Radiant. That was, and I quote, "the Spren wishing to imitate what I had given men." So the fact that he says the Spren makes me think the Almighty is definitely not a Spren.
Sure.
It seems like he's pretty clearly distinguishing himself. He's referring to them as the they, right? So yeah, he made the heralds, and then the Spren were like, "Oh, that was cool. Okay," and they went off
right.
and they made all the knights radiant, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that kind of makes sense.
And then we get back to Dalinar. He sends Navani off, and there are some guards posted like outside of his quarters, but none of them like within his chambers, right?
Right.
And then he dozes off, and when he awakens, like pretty shortly afterwards, I think.
Right. Yeah. Quick little cat nap.
Somebody has somehow gotten into the room and used a stone to scratch into the wall glyphs saying 62 days, death follows, but maybe it means follow death, and also the word death might actually be the word broken. Right.
They're really poorly written glyphs.
Yeah.
They really should have just written it in Alethi. Drive the point home. But yeah, and then Kaladin's like, I already failed you. Let somebody into the room afterwards. And Dalinar's like, don't sweat it too much. But he just pay more attention. And he's like, why do I trust Kaladin so much already? This is weird.
Yeah. And I write, lol, Adolin is not a fan of Kaladin.
Yeah.
I like that. I like it how, like, Adolin, it's like the scene from Avengers. Adolin's like, you ruined my life. And Kaladin looks at him, he's like, I don't even know who you are. Like, please. Like, I don't know.
Right. I don't have time for your petty squabbles, boy.
Adolin is, like, all angry, and Kaladin's like, dude, I'm just keeping your dad alive. Like...
Right, yeah. What do you
just
want
not returning fire at all.
Yep.
And yeah, there's now this 62-day time limit, and how's that for a sense of urgency, right? You just have a hard time limit. They have 2 months to just figure this stuff out, or who knows, something bad's gonna happen.
Right, yeah. Dalinar's saying like, well, maybe that's when the Everstorm happens. So I guess we gotta really start putting pedal to the metal here.
Yeah, this sure would be a bad time for people to conceal the fact that they were Radiants from me.
That
would really slow things down unnecessarily.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they won't.
How do you feel about this little theory, John? Dalinar may have just wrote the scratches in his sleep.
Yeah, well, it seems like there's no way somebody's just snuck into the room. Like, it seems to me that it was something... some magic, or Dalinar himself.
Or it could have been a Spren or something, because they can manipulate objects. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or it could have been one of the guards. If somebody's guarding a door, right, they could slip in and write it. But I don't know who amongst Kaladin's retinue would do such a thing. Doesn't really make sense. So.
Yeah, no, I don't buy that it was an actual person that just snuck in to scratch this into the wall or whatever. But yeah, 62 days. That's how many pages is that in book time?
Hard to say.
Perhaps,
Hard to say.
Perhaps a whole book. Who knows?
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll never really trust Brandon Sanderson's pacing, though. Ever since Mistborn, like I have to accept that like my predicted timeline for the whole seast may just be really, really bad.
Super duper wrong.
Just
yeah.
really incorrect.
Yep.
Well,
I was thinking about this because I was reading last night, and right before I went to bed, I was just like, how in the world did he plan out this series, Like, he sits down, he's like, all right, here's the overarching plot, all right? And then we got to kind of split that in two parts because each five books is kind of its own. Like, there's going to be a major conclusion at the end of book 5, and then 5 more books to follow.
Yeah. He's like, divided up into acts, right? Act 1 and Act 2.
Right, yeah.
I'm so excited for that. All right, so in television shows, often the best episodes will be season finales and season premieres, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Similarly, I am excited out of my mind for the end of book 5, start of book 6.
Oh, yeah.
Right, like that.
Right.
I am certain that those sections are gonna just be so awesome, right? And like there's some authors where I might almost get a little nervous, like, oh geez, I'm not sure this will be quite as awesome as I expect. It might be a little disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But I've just got faith in the Brando Sando,
Yeah.
I'm sure that he's gonna deliver, and I'm
Praise
so
be
excited
unto
for
him.
it.
Yeah. No, yeah, like this would be so much better if we were reading up to the release of book 5, because that would be a really nice solid conclusion, and the wait wouldn't be as painful for 6.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
But
alas. You know what? It's okay. We'll just re-record this entire podcast when book 5 is announced.
No, all right, perfect.
Yeah, and we'll read all the way up through book 4 until we hit book 5.
Right.
Honestly, this is the sort of series where I could legitimately see myself rereading this entire thing. Maybe not for the release of every book, but like a couple more times before the series ends.
Yeah.
Like maybe before every like even numbered book, I just read every book before up to that point or something like that.
Because with something of this magnitude, where it's 10 books of 1,200 pages, like there's so much to soak in that you're gonna find something new every time. I mean, you already have evidence of that with book 1, but
oh yeah, I caught so crazy much more than I did the first time. Like it's super fun, super good reread value on these books.
Yeah, replayability,
massive replayability.
But I was thinking about it. I was like, we were talking about a few pods ago how 10 is like a really significant number in the universe, and there are going to be 10 books. I was like, you better know exactly how much has to go in each one so he doesn't get like caught having like a 3,000 page book 10 to like oopsie doopsie.
Yeah.
Forgot about all these things. Because that's kind of, I mean, I just read this online, but that was sort of what happened with Wheel of Time, Was it was supposed to be like a trilogy or something, or like 5 books, or I don't remember what the original number was. And then he like introduced, originally it was supposed to be 1 book, right?
Well, originally it was 1 book. Check. That happened. That was that did its thing.
And he made it very very hobbity so that it would be released because that was the only thing you could do in the fantasy genre. And then it was received really well, so he was like, okay, now we can do something with this. I can actually do what I want now. Yeah. And then he started adding like additional plot points, and he was like, oh, this is going to need a few books. And then he was like, well, we've already started adding stuff. Why stop now? And then he like added more stuff, and it just kind of like, I mean, I haven't read the whole thing, obviously, like you have, but you said there were some parts where it kind of was just trucking along for the sake of it, and I feel like that was, it almost got too big to fail in a way. But then it didn't, and it all wrapped up when Brandon Sanderson was like, all right, let's put a pin in this.
Honestly, though, at the rate things were going, like, if Brandon Sanderson hadn't dipped in, if what's his name?
Jordan? Robert Jordan?
Robert Jordan. If Robert Jordan had, stayed alive and continued writing them himself, could have gone on for another 5 or 10 books or something. Like, who knows,
who knows?
Like,
right. I think he was.
He excelled.
I mean, because we know Brandon Sanderson
at writing just writing.
Right. Because we know Brandon Sanderson. He knows how to like get the story moving, right? And he knows
yeah.
like when to, you know, he likes dumping a bunch of information on you almost too fast at the end of the book, but you know, he gives you enough. You never feel like you're trucking along. You're always learning stuff and enjoying it.
Well, and that's
whereas Robert Jordan, he just like he was content to just sit in the world he made and just kind of chill.
Just have fun with it. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, yeah, and obviously I finished the whole series. Like, obviously I really like Robert Jordan, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really loved Wheel of Time, but when Brandon Sanderson did pick it up, like, it was such a stark contrast between the previous book and Brandon Sanderson's first one. Like the pacing just changed like instantly, and it was so welcome, because when you read enough of that, when you start getting kind of close to the end, it starts to feel like, oh geez, you know, like, is this ever gonna end, right? Like, you start kind of wondering and kind of maybe losing some enthusiasm. And then you start that book 11. I think that was the first one Brandon Sanderson wrote.
Sorry, what was it?
You hit that book 11, which I think was Brandon Sanderson's first one, and suddenly you're like, oh yes, it is going to end. All right, Brandon Sanderson, he just revealed to me that yes, in fact, that with this new pacing, I have confidence that this book truly will, this series will truly will end in 3 books, and it got me back in it, you know.
Right. Well, that makes sense, because you know, it's one thing to build like a bunch of anticipation for like the ending and all the like secrets to be revealed, but if it lasts too long, then it just turns to like exhaustion. At some point, you're like, just get on with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care anymore. So that makes sense.
All right. Next time, John, we are going to read up through the end of part 1. That's chapters 5 through 12, and it's going to be just a smidge under 30,000 words. Putting it like 100 words more than we just read. It's super close.
Okay. That was like, it seemed to me like that section was kind of short, but
it was a little short. That last one was, 26,000 words. Whoops.
Oh, so it's quite short.
And this next one is about 30,000. So, yeah, about 4,000 more words than we just read. And, wow, I'm just reading the chapter names coming up here. Terrible Destruction. There's one chapter called Knives in the Back, Soldiers on the Field. There's one called Walking the Grave. Oy vey, what are we getting into here? Yeah.
This sounds good. This sounds like a lot of good things.
Yeah, this is all right. I can't wait. Well, hey.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think that's gonna wrap it up for now. Hey, I'll talk to you next week, or maybe right after this if you want to play a game of League.
Oh, well, I'll probably eat some dinner, and I gotta entertain this cat for a bit, because she's getting a little restless.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll play one without you. But hey.
But I'll be on later.
Thanks for listening or watching. Bye.
Bye.